Okay, so those little things in angle brackets, like string and employee that we used with ArrayList and LinkedList, are called generic types, or sometimes abbreviated as just generics. So to use generics, first thing you do is you find a data structure built into Java that internally is using object, like ArrayList, LinkedList, HashMap, HashStat, Stack, and there's a whole bunch of other. It's in the collections package. Then you declare that data structure with the types and angle brackets. So you say a list, and even though internally it's using object, you tell Java to check at compile time that everything you insert is a string. Or with a map, which is kind of like a lookup table, you can say, well, the keys to the map are strings and the corresponding values in the map are person objects, and so forth. Then you insert objects of the appropriate type, and all that checking is done at compile time. Java will check at compile time that that's a string. Java will check at compile time that the key to your map is a string and the corresponding value is a person object. No extra work is done at runtime, only at compile time. And then when you take something out, you don't have to do a typecast. Even though internally the actual implementation is using objects, you don't have to do a typecast from object to string or object to person because Java knows ahead of time what the types are. So way back in the early days of Java, start back in Java 1.4 more than 10 years ago, list, ArrayList, and LinkedList were around, but generic types were not around. So you wrote code that looked like this. You said, make a list and use an ArrayList as the underlying implementation. And then you just remembered, hey, I'm going to put strings inside. And you just remember the things that I add need to be strings. But Java's not checking that. You, the programmer, are trying to remember that. And then when you take things out, you say, well, the things I put in were strings, so when I take it out, I guess it must still be a string, and you can do a typecast. A typecast means the object is already of that type. You just want to kind of redeclare the variable. And this has a couple of problems. The first problem is that no actual compile time checks are done. Runtime checks are done that it's a string. What this means is if later you come back to your code and you forgot, oh, I'm only allowed to put strings in here, and you put a person object or a circle object inside the list, when you take it out and you typecast it to string, you get an error at runtime. Compile time errors are good, runtime errors are bad. The second problem is that the loop is kind of long and complicated because you have to do a typecast. So when in the modern version of Java, you say list, and it can only take strings. Java now checks at compile time that everything that you add is a string. So it's not possible to get a type error at runtime when you take something out and try to treat it as a string. And in fact, you don't have to do a typecast. Java knows ahead of time that they're strings. It's safe to call them strings, and you can use a simpler loop. So this is kind of a win in every way versus the old version. Your code is shorter because you can use the new style loop. Your code is more type safe, and the performance is identical. So they just learned a better way of doing it. Now there's one minor variation you might occasionally see. You don't need to learn how to do this, but you might occasionally see it, which is in Java 5 and 6, you had to repeat the type on the right-hand side. They added smarter type inferencing in the compiler starting in Java 7 so that you can just use the left angle bracket, right angle bracket, which is called the diamond operator. All right, so the long and the short of it is, if you see some really, 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 really old code from the, ancient days of Java that doesn't give types, rewrite it right away. This is just wrong. The new way is shorter, it's more succinct, it's easy to read, it's type safe, and it has the same performance. But if you see some kind of medium old code that repeats the type here on the right-hand side, you don't need to throw that code away and rewrite it from scratch, but the new code that you write doesn't require you to repeat the type.